Okay, before we get this episode going, we need to give a shout out and a big thank you to Steve and his wife for not only donating the four-door springs that we use in this episode, but for also driving them all the way from Yucca, Arizona to Wickenburg. Thanks, guys. Steve's currently working on his 1993 Suzuki Sidekick, as you can see here, and he has recently completed a ProShock 2.5-inch suspension lift kit installation and added some custom American racing wheels with some aggressive Mickey Thompsons to dominate those tough trails. Steve will be installing a JL bumper to his Sidekick and has volunteered to test out the prototype of our four-door JL bolt-on bumper kit, making recommendations and providing feedback so that we can make any design adjustments to improve or enhance the DIY bolt-on bumper kit. We're looking forward to his opinions and recommendations. We have added a link to Steve's YouTube page in the description of this video so that you can follow or contact Steve about his Sidekick and his future plans. Ask him about his portable air inflation system. It's amazing. All right, on with the show. Hello from Arizona. My name is Cal and I welcome you to Tough Trails. In this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to install some four-door springs on this two-door 92 Sidekick project, okay? This is our Scout project. We're also, as you can see here, we lifted up this fuel tank 3 inches and we added a rear bumper that we made from a rock slider off of a Jeep JK. Okay, so stay tuned. Let's get her going. All right, guys. So here we go. We just turned this around. We're going to work on the rear end today. And what we're going to do today is we're going to pull the wheels off, we're going to pull the shocks off, and we're going to pull the springs off. And we're going to work on our mounting kit, the lift kit for the fuel tank. We're going to work on that today. So what we're about to do right now is jack this thing up as high as I can, pull these wheels off and these shocks and these springs, okay? And now we're going to replace these springs with four-door springs, and which are kind of right there. And we're going to take these shocks off and we're going to replace them with some extended travel shocks. These shocks that were coming in extend out to, I think, 23 inches. So we're going to put those on there. So longer springs, longer shocks, and we're going to work on the custom mount to get our fuel tank up a little bit higher. Okay? All right, cool. Here we go. All right, she's up. She's on jack stand. She's up there pretty solid. Now we're going to take the wheels and tires off and start taking the shocks and the springs off. Okay? All right, we're moving on. All right, guys, so the wheels are off and the shocks are off. We're going to take the springs off next, and then we're going to get a pressure washer up in there again. I need it all clean because that's all going to get detailed out today. So one of the things I want to point out, we're going to walk over and look at it. So this already has a 2-inch suspension puck lift on it, on the stock springs, okay? And you can get away with that as it relates to your emergency brake. But we're about to add another inch to that with the four-door springs, maybe 1.5 inches, depends. We're going to do a side-by-side on them there and see, you know, what the difference is. But what I wanted to show you is when you're up like this, what I have done is I've taken and released my emergency brake, and then I went right up here on top. See, this is your emergency brake. Hope you can see it. It's your emergency brake, and you can see right here, a little 12mm bolt that holds it in right there. So I've reduced that, and that's going to give me all this slack that I need. So when I go up, what I'm going to do to get these springs out, since I don't have a spring compressor, is I'm going to let them hang there, and I may take the jack and jack up the other side, relieving pressure on this side right here. So there we go, that's better. So what I may do is use a jack on the other side and tilt this, so that side to go up, this side to go down, and that'll take pressure off the spring, because I'm not using a spring compressor, okay? These springs are just not in there that tight, okay? I can almost pull them down by hand. So, and in fact, usually we just take a big pry bar and just pop them right out. So, but anyway, just so you can see that, in case my camera didn't catch it, right there, 12mm bolt, and catches this cable right here, okay? And now we've loosened that up, and that's going to give us slack in our line so we're not tearing stuff up, okay? All right, guys, so if you can see this, you can see what I did here. So I just gently, just a few cranks on this, and I've got this left side of this axle up. So I've compressed that spring a little bit. And what that's done, as you can see, is it's caused this side to go down. Look at it, this spring is off. I'm going to just reach in here and pull this off, okay? And that's how I do it in the back. All right, cool. All right, guys. So basically, what I do is I just use a simple green product right here, and I mix it in with a little bit of water, and put it in a spray bottle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray everything up underneath here, okay? And I'm going to let it sit for like 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm going to fire up this pressure washer right here, and we're going to go to town and clean all this up because I want this all repainted and looking good back here, okay? So that's what we're going to do next. I just want to let you know that's what I use, okay? Okay, so you can see in there, she got cleaned up pretty good. Pressure washed it out. We're letting it dry a little bit. We'll come back and hit some spots that we need to. And then we're going to put a coat of paint on here just to protect this metal. So I'm just trying to do a good job, okay? All right, cool. All right, guys, just want to see if I can show you this here. So we've got these in the same position here, okay? These are the 2-door springs. These are the 4-door springs. As you can see, they're just a tad taller, okay? But when you measure it, it's actually coming up to only about a ½ inch taller from this highest point to this highest point right here. It's only a ½ inch. But this is the difference between a 2-door spring and a 4-door spring. Now, I'm told it's not uncommon to find these with an inch taller, and some even a little bit more. But on these right here, we're only going to be a ½ inch taller. But when you take the ½ inch along with the 2-inch budget suspension lift, that's going to give you a 2½ inch suspension lift. Okay, so I'm going to take and clean these up, throw some paint on there, and then I'm going to throw them up underneath there. Okay, you can see we've already painted up in there. Okay, cool. All right, guys, so there's the springs. We cleaned them up again real good and put a coat of primer on them and then a coat of paint. Okay, so there you go. And we'll throw those, they're drying right now. We'll throw them on here in a little while. We'll let them sit here and bake in the sun to make sure they're good and dry because I'm going to have to fight with them and stuff. So they need to be nice and dry. Okay, cool. You can do it. Okay, so if you'll notice where the 3-inch mark meets at right there in that apex of that curve right there. See it? Okay, so I'm going to chop this off right there at that 3 inches. Okay, it's coming off. If you look up on top, that's even with the bottom of the support bar. Okay, and I'm going to cut that off right there straight across as well. And then once I move out that 3-inch piece out of the way, I'm going to take this piece down here from the apex down all the way up to the top and then tack it up there. And that is going to give me my 3 inches. Okay, I hope you kind of understood that. Okay, I'm going to take 3 inches out of this. I'm going to take the bottom piece that's left, which is about an inch, and I'm going to take it up on top, and I'm going to tack it to the part that I leave up there. Okay, all right, let's hope it works. Okay, so basically what we did is we hacked this off from up under for the, this is a hanger for the fuel tank. We hacked it off from under, on the underside. We left a little bit on it. And then what we did is we brought it over here and we cut, how do we do that? Yeah, this piece. So this piece right here, we cut this piece off here, okay? And now we're gonna take this piece right here that we just cut off and we're gonna go weld it to the remainder of this, of that hanger, and bring that up. This is 3 inches-ish, okay? So we're gonna take this piece now and go weld it back in place, all right? Both sides, all right? Just wanna show you how we did that. Whoa! Shit! These are not welding shorts. What the hell? All right, guys, just another little update. So the coils are in. They're all painted and cleaned up, and they're in place now. So walk you around. We also modified the mounts right there for your fuel tank. So we're going to see how that works, maybe today or tomorrow. And then this side as well, so you can see all of this. Okay, cool. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on these shocks, these extended version shocks. Okay, so we're going to do that next, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Okay, so you are now updated. Cool. All right, so I just want to talk about this just a little bit, and I'm probably going to do something that I normally wouldn't do, but for the purposes of this video, I'm probably going to do it. So, all right, so this is a stock shock that came off. Okay, and you can see here what we had done years ago was we added these 2-inch shock extensions to compensate for the 2-inch lift that we put on the puck, and that's what we did. We had nothing but problems with them. You can see here we had to put a weld on there. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, so now this shock is extended fully right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this strap right here, and this shock right here, this new gas filled charged shock, is going to expand, and I'm going to have to fight to get it in, but I just want you to be able to see the difference in the travel and these shocks. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. All right, so let's see what happens. There it goes. Okay. All right, so there's your fully extended shock. You see the difference? Now remember, this shock was down here. Look at all the extra travel you have. Yeah, the reason I'm pointing this out, this would contribute to you spitting a spring out on some of the tougher trails. Okay. I doubt it, but I just want to warn you of that. Okay. You get in some hairy situations where you're in a big old hole and that one wheel or a part of the axle is down. You're down because this shock is only goes to right about here. So you can see there's at least five inches right there in different travel. Okay. All right. I just want to show you that. So now I'm going to go fight with this and see if I can't get it up in there. Okay. Cool. Okay. So this is just a side by side of the shocks. Okay. So this is a stock shock we took off. As nasty as it looks, it's possibility that it's an original shock. Yeah. See it right there in the label? I don't know if you can see it. Suzuki. Okay. That's an original shock off of a 92. What's that? 32 years ago? Okay. We also had to put on shock extenders years ago, and they had problems with them because they kept coming loose. So we put a tack weld on there. You know, they worked for what we did. But now you can see in a side by side with these new Gabriels that we got here, these extended travel shocks, you're going to get a lot more travel out of that. So, and that's going to help you with the fact that you have 4-door springs on now, and that you have a 2-inch puck system on there. Okay, so that's 2.5, 3 inches right there, and you don't want to put the puck system on and get you that kind of a lift, but not be able to take advantage of the travel. This is going to allow you to take the advantage of the additional travel. Okay, and your suspension. Cool. All right. All right, guys. So there's our suspension. It's in. We've got our 4-door springs in place, and we got our extended travel shocks in place as well. And we've detailed it down in here and cleaned it up a little bit and put some color back here. So I just wanted you to see what this system's going to look like, and that's what we got. Okay, and this is a pretty solid, pretty decent, and a very, very affordable upgrade to your suspension without spending tons and tons of money. I mean, and you did this yourself, and you just scavenged some parts, some old 4-door springs. You know, you got to do some travel. You got a budget lift puck in there on the top of that coil, and then you got these extended travel heavy duty shocks from Gabriel. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so fuel tank's up next, and we're going to swap out this fuel pump, and we're going to clean this up, and some of these lines are going. I'm going to replace some of these lines. See how they're old and cracked? So you're looking at 32 years old. We pulled the shocks off this thing. They were original shocks from 32 years ago. So anyway, we're going to clean this tank up and replace the fuel pump. There's a little bit of nasty fuel in there, varnish fuel. I'm going to get that out a little bit as well. And then we're going to throw it up in there and see if our new mount kit worked or is going to work for us. The lift kit to get this fuel tank up 3 inches, get it up in there nice and high and tight. Okay, so fingers crossed. Okay, all right, guys, we're moving on. All right, guys, so let me get out here so you can see this. All right, you can see it, and this is kind of a close-up, but this is your fuel pump. Okay, this is what happens to your fuel pump in your fuel tank. Okay, all right, and see right here, this is your filter. See how that filter is ripped? You know, if you're ever having sluggish performance, your acceleration's off, you know, it doesn't accelerate as fast, seems a little bit sluggish. Sometimes you might just have a bunch of crap in your fuel system. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to show you that. We're not going to do anything about it. I got a brand new one. We're going to pop a brand new one in, but I just wanted you to see that. This is what's going on inside your fuel tank, guys. Okay, cool. Fuel tank, all the pieces on the top of it get taken off as well. Hey guys, so this is the fuel tank right here. We're going to clean that up a little bit, and we're going to replace the lines and the hoses and stuff. Like this hose is coming off too. Okay, so we're going to clean all this up and replace everything. Okay, I want it to be new. I don't want it to be a problem back here. Okay, cool. Okay, so replacing some of the lines with new hoses on them and stuff. Here's a, you can see it or not, but here's the new fuel pump. So that's going to go in as well. Okay, so I'm just giving you guys a heads up and keep you updated. Okay, all right, cool. All right, guys, this is the last look before it goes back in there. So we replace all these hoses, replace the fuel pump, replace these hoses, these hoses, these hoses as well, and we cleaned it up, and then we gave it a nice coat of a smoke gray. That's what we did. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to try to throw this up in here for this part of it, the back of it. And what we did here, these used to be down here. We took 3 inches out right there on both sides. So now we're just going to see if this is going to work or not. Okay, cross your fingers. So what we're doing here is we're building tabs for our fuel tank mounts. And these are, I'm going to weld these nuts in place. That's why I've got the bolts through them right now. And I'm just going to put a couple of tacks to hold those bolts in place right there, because it's going to be difficult to get to them from where they're at or where they're located at. So you can see here, see, if you look down in there, you wouldn't really be able to get up in there that easily. You're not going to get a socket or a ratchet. So I'm going to try to create a situation to where the nuts are permanent, and you can just use the bolts through the top. Okay, cool. And there you go. So there's my little tabs right there. You know, I'll probably round the corner or something on it, put a little paint on it so it doesn't rust. Okay, that's it, just like that. All right, guys, so you can see there, see, roll the little tabs in, lines up. We have a threaded bolt on the end now. Okay, all right, cool. I wanted to show you that. All right, guys, so the tank is in, and you can see we made our tabs, and we put our tabs in, tacked them in right there, and we put our bolts in because we put that nut on the back of that tab. Okay, so I'm about to throw the tires back on this and lower this back down. So I just wanted to show you a few things in here. So you can see the fuel tank, it's up there. I had to order one of these filler tube hoses right here because I just don't like the one that I got. It's pretty nasty and it's old and it's brittle, so I got to put that on still. And then I got to hook my emergency brake cables back up right here. But right now my axle is suspended on these shocks right here, these extended travel shocks. So anyway, I just wanted you to see that. So now you see that clearance up on top of that fuel tank. That's a lot better. Okay, and that fits a lot better. So anyway, I'm going to throw the tires on. We got a new fuel filter in right there, if you can see it a little bit, and that's in there, and everything's all hooked up. Okay, all right, cool. All right, guys, so now you can see that. Now see that fuel tank is up out of the way. You know, you've got clear access to your differential right there. Look at that. So that's good. In fact, I don't even have any armor underneath that yet. I've got some diamond plate, a big sheet of diamond plate steel that I might make my own armor for the front and the back. We'll see how it goes. So anyway, just update to show you what that looks like. Now we're going to play with the bumper and get that bumper on there that we made the other day and see what that looks like. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So let's have us a little chat about this lift kit for this fuel tank. Okay, now this rig has got a 3-inch body lift on it. Okay, 3 inches. I don't think you can see it here, but you can peek through there, you can see it. That's 3 inches. That's a 2-inch block and a 1-inch puck right there on top. See it through there? Okay, so what we did is we had cut the mounts for the front of the tank, and we took 3 inches out of them to compensate for the 3-inch body lift. And in the back here, we basically moved the tabs, as you can see here, up to the top of this bar. But the theory and the design when we started this, it seemed pretty simple. We're just going to throw it up in there, and we're going to put the ass end up first to get the tabs up on top of this support bar here, and then we'll just bolt her in place, and we'll go from there. Well, yeah, that's not the case. I fought for this with this thing forever, trying to get that to work, and it just wouldn't work. Any other angle than this angle to go straight up or straight down, you're just increasing the area that you need. In other words, the distance, the measurements, you know, if this is an 18-inch wide or 21-inch wide fuel tank, once you start spinning it, suddenly it's growing. It's 23 inches, it's 24 inches because of the way it's designed. So if you've got it up there without having to do modifications, then you're way ahead of me. But what I had to do, and I'm telling you this in case you decide to do this, I had to cut this. I had to cut the support out to get this fuel tank up in there and put it in. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because this is a frame support. This is actually a very critical piece right here, okay? And when I cut this thing popped at least an 1/8 of an inch. And that frame popped on me, an 1/8 of an inch. And that's not good. You don't want to do that. There's so much geometry in this stuff. It's got to be right. Now, I didn't move this thing. This thing stayed right where it was at. And I immediately, once I got that tank up in there, I set that bar up in there with stands and jack stands and floor jacks. What I did is I got me some ratchet straps and I wrapped it around that frame and I squeezed it back together to get these welds in there, and I welded it back. But my level of welding is really not good enough for this, so I'm just got my fingers crossed hoping that this works. And you know, I can tack some things together, I can make some things hold, but this is a vital component. This is a vital part of your frame and your chassis right here. So I'm just telling you that because if you decide that, you know, you got a body lift that's 3 inches and you want to throw that up there, you know, you may have to do this as well, unless you figured out something better than I did. My other option was I was going to lift the body off of it and drop the fuel tank in from the top. And I just figured that was too much work. And because this is primarily an off-road vehicle, I went for it and I chopped it. So I'm just letting you know that you may have to do that as well. If you're putting just a 2-inch body lift on here, it's really not worth it because your tabs are going to come into the middle here. You're just not going to be able to do that. So there is a forward support cross member in front of this tank, but that supports your shocks and your spring towers. So you don't want to be cutting that one either. So anyway, you got to decide for yourself if this is what you want to do. Now, I do like this. This is awesome. I got all this fuel tank is up in the air like it's supposed to be. I like that. I got plenty of clearance. So you're going to have to decide what you want to do for your application. Okay? I just want to throw that in there. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but that is kind of important. You kind of don't want to do that unless you're a lot better welder than I am. Okay? Which most people are. All right, guys, cool. All right, guys, we're back up under here again. Okay, so when we added these springs, and we already had a 2-inch suspension lift, the budget lift with the puck, okay, on top of these coils. But now we've added 4-door coils to it. So we're at about, that added at least another 1.5 inches of putting those 4-door coils on there. And what it's done is it's made our breather hose for our differential way too short now. Okay, so it won't even reach. You can see right here, it won't even reach. So I'm going to have to replace that. So I've got me some 5/16 inch fuel line is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to chop this out. I'm going to remove this and put a new piece in there. And I'm going to try to accommodate for the travel that we're going to have. Okay? All right, cool. All right, let me get that done. Okay, and there we go. Diff breather line, diff breather tube, brand new, replaced, 5/16 fuel line. That did it. Okay? All right, cool. It's in. All right, guys. So after conducting a survey of everybody in my garage, the consensus seems to be that this filler tube hack job is just unacceptable. So the votes are pretty clear that we're not going to be able to keep this bad boy. And instead, we're going to replace it with a brand new one. Okay? You just got to follow what the consensus says. Okay? And that's how they voted. So that's the way it's got to go. All right, cool. Okay, so there's our filler tube. It's all back up in there. That's good. Hose is up. Tank is now completely in. All that is taken care of and done. And on the bottom there, you can see our diff breather hose is in there. Okay? All right, cool, guys. All right, guys. Sun's about down. You can see out there. All right. Okay, so here we go. Just wanted to get this last little segment in before it got too dark. But we put, in this episode, we put the four-door springs on. We put the extended travel shocks on as well. And here we're mounting the bumper. We've got one of the mounts made up on it as well. So I just wanted to kind of show you, you know, when I did the side by side, and you'll see early in this video, you saw the side by side when I did the spring side by side, the two-door and the four-door springs. And there's only about a half-inch difference. But this combination of those extended travel shocks, those Gabriels that we use, and the four-door springs has added almost an inch and a half in the suspension. I mean, if you could look at this, you know, from earlier in this episode, you can see that. So anyway, the bumper's on. We're playing with some mounts right now, but it's on there. It ain't going anywhere. So you can see down there these plates that we made. Okay, so but that's it. So that's going to close out this episode right here, and then the next episode I've got some other parts coming, and what we're going to do is we're going to do the front. Is what we'll do. So now we're going to put four-door springs in the front of this, and extended travel struts that we use. Remember, we use the struts from a 93 Pontiac Grand Prix. They're actually the rear struts off of a Pontiac Grand Prix, and we're going to take and use them on the front. Okay, so anyway, that's going to bring this front up a little bit as well. As you can see now, it's already got that scrambler, that scout look to it. Low in the front, high in the back, because it's supposed to be nimble and quick and lightweight, and that's what we're going for, and that's why it's a scout. Okay, guys. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video.